What's up, guys? It's Aaron, the trucking guy, man. Wanted to come on here and talk to you guys for a minute. I watched a video the other day with Hauling Cash. Man, he had me cracking up, had me dying. I guess he had somebody maybe that did him wrong, was a broker or something like that. So, you know, guys, the stuff that brokers don't want you to know is that, you know, there's going to be times where the customer makes a mistake or they screw up with you, they misspeak. You know, they misspoke all the time when I was constantly dispatching. And something that you just have to get used to is that basically you have to get everything in writing. Everything that you do, you have to get in writing, right? Everything that you know, if there's a change of address on the delivery side, if there's a change of address on the pickup side, if they want something taken longer, you know, away, if the commodity is heavier, or things are not, you know, done exactly the way that it was supposed to be on the original rate confirmation or rate contract or your contract up front, then any of those types of changes to your contract or to scope of work, basically, they're going to incur charges, right? Because if you have something come up and you know it's heavier, it's going to cost more money. If there's a delay in delivery, if there's a delay in unloading, if there's a delay in pickup, those things can offset your schedule as a business, right? So you don't want to eat those costs that are incurred with those type of you know, changes to scope of work. It's the responsibility of the customer and the broker to eat those costs, as long as you did or do everything that you were supposed to do and fulfill your part of the agreement, right? So I'm basically just reiterating stuff that he said. So if you don't know who he is, go on YouTube, look up Hauling Cash. He's a pretty smart cat. But anyway, he was just talking about how, you know, you get burnt. You know, some guy wants to hold your truck up all day, can't get it unloaded, doesn't have your you know, unloading stuff together, whatever, right? So in the event that happens, you need to not unload the freight. He's 100% right with that. You have all of the control if you have the merchandise, the commodity, the product, whatever it is, on the trailer, and you're in control of it. The minute you finally deliver it and relinquish control of it, you no longer have the control, and you're not going to get what you want. And I've seen them time and time again, guys, where we say, yeah, no problem, you know, you can do it later, and then they never come back with the rate con. They never answer the phone again. They never do what they say they're going to do, or you agree verbally to $500 or whatever, $1,000 layover for the day, or extra services, or them adding you know, more material to the trailer or whatever, and then that never comes over. You unload the commodity and then you never get that money. So the way you have to go about that is, excuse me, always be professional and always do things that, you know, are in the best interest of your company. Don't jump right to the "you're screwing me" side, because that person might be able to work with you, work with the customer, figure out something, and that person might even be getting, you know, screwed by the customer, but willing to make it right on your end with, you know, their own money or whatever. I've seen that happen, where the customer just completely screwed them, but the brokerage was a good brokerage and a good person, and honest and reliable, and they took care of us on, you know, whatever it is. This happens all the time. The more trucks you have, the bigger you get, the more problems you're going to have, right? So problems are a good thing, they're not a bad thing. So whenever you're getting stressed, you're thinking, man, I'm constantly dealing with all these damn headaches and blah, blah, blah. That just is the sign of growth. That's the sign of success. That's what comes with, you know, exploding things up and getting bigger, right? It is the messy part of it, and you have to control it. But you know, like I've done previous videos on emotion in business, not letting emotion get to you in that. And I know, like with that one video, he was just like, I don't give a flying F, blah, blah. Those emotions get in there, it kind of just muddies the water. I've had people, you know, hang up on me, cuss me out, you name it, right? And I just don't, I try not to let it get to me. I'm not gonna say don't, because there's been a few times that it does, but I try not to let those things get to me, because it's just business. You know, it's not something that we do on a day-to-day basis. You know, typically business is done cordially and professionally, but things like that do come up. When they do come up, if you get it on the front end, you have an agreement, just say, okay, send over another rate confirmation or an addendum to that, or a revised rate confirmation that has the extra services or, you know, product or whatever in there, right? And the extra charge, the extra pay. You know, maybe it was supposed to be tarped and you didn't agree on tarp. Maybe it was, you know, supposed to be 10,000 pounds, it's 20,000 pounds. Maybe it was, you know, delivering in Ohio, it turns out it's delivering in Indiana, or just whatever, and you got to go somewhere else. Maybe it was a 2-part drop and not a 1-part. You agreed on a 1-part delivery, and now it's 2-piece delivery. So those things change. Or maybe you'll get to the delivery location and they'll say, oh no, we want it over here, and the broker didn't know about that, and the customer didn't relay that information to them, and now you're in the situation that you're in, right? Or maybe the delivery address is not the right one and the broker messed it up. The customer gave the broker the right delivery address, but they didn't put it on the rate confirmation. You took it to the other address, where maybe they get their billing and that's their main office, but not their warehouse, right? That has happened quite a few times and will happen all the time. So it's always good to check your rate confirmation, read over it. Like he was saying, a very good point is, do not just pin swipe these things and boom, 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 go, go. Especially when you have a lot of trucks in the beginning, you're getting used to that and you're just like, you know, signing and swiping, signing and going and going. Don't do that. Read your rate confirmations, because they have, you know, $100 an hour penalties for being late. Major things that we've seen that are just chaotically crazy that we would never agree to. So then we'll say, man, did you see this rate card? We're not signing this stuff, and we send it back, and then they'll adjust it, remove it, or we'll just find another load or agree with somebody else or something else. So if you get into a situation like that and they refuse to unload you, or they want to change, you know, address, before you move to go to that other place, make sure you get a new rate confirmation and you get it in writing and you have an agreement on what you agreed to pay. And then in certain situations where they try to muscle you or just say, hey, I'm not doing this, you know, you're an idiot delivery, or I'm gonna report it stolen, I'm gonna do, because they'll say everything. I'm gonna report it stolen, I'm gonna call the police, I'm gonna do this, when I see you I'm gonna punch you in the mouth. I've had them say all kind of stuff. I've had to have police officers escort my guys one time into the delivery. The guy come out acting all crazy, but he didn't realize it was an undercover cop car with guys in it behind. So he, after he found that out, he cooled off. But all because the guy said, hey man, you agreed here, now you want me to take it way up in the woods and the sticks somewhere, and I'm not doing that for nothing. I'm gonna have you paid. I want another $200 for that. And the guy was mad about paying it. And then he shorted us on the other end. So he shorted paying the broker after he paid the driver $200 cash. So we had to get it from the broker, and it was a whole rigmarole. So that kind of stuff happens because it's a numbers game. If you meet enough people in a certain period of time, you're going to run into a bad person, right? So it's just stay on top of it. Keep control of that freight. Make sure if you get to that point that they pay you before you unload it. And at that point, don't do it with a check later, because checks can be canceled or bounced. But if you do it with a credit card, you can do that because they can dispute their credit card. You can provide proof, whether it be recorded calls, contract, emails, text messages to the credit card company, and it goes through a dispute process. I've also been through those type of things. The credit card company can't just take it from you and give it back to them, or cancel your payment and not give it to you at all. If you actually had services rendered and that person was due to be paid, then they're just being a bunghole, basically, not wanting to pay it. The credit card company has to honor the agreement and pay you the money. They basically put it in like escrow or limbo until the dispute is finalized. If you provide your proof, your evidence, they'll go ahead and pay you the money. But the best way is just cash. Just say, hey, this stuff doesn't come off my trailer until I get paid cash. And if you had an agreement where they were going to pay a broker and this and that, and they get there and say, oh, well, now you're going to have to wait for another day, we can't unload it, and you're there at 8 a.m., and they said they were going to unload you at 8 a.m. Well, at the end of that day, you're no longer legally obligated to sit there for 2, 3, 4 more days, whatever, to unload you. So if they don't want to unload you till the next day, be polite, be cordial and professional with your business, but just say, hey, look, now we've incurred these charges, you guys are refusing to pay them, so what's going to happen is now you have to pay before the commodity comes off the trailer. If you're refusing to do that, we're going to leave here, it's going to go into storage, you're going to have to pay for the transportation there and back, storage fees, etc. And if you do not pay them, we're going to put a carrier's lien against it. And that's basically just standard practice in doing business. Everybody knows that. So these brokers that, puff their chest out, get nasty with you, I'm going to sue you, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, just, don't pay any attention. At that point, hang up, unless your phone call is recorded and you want to do it that way. Hang up and do everything through email. That way you have a paper trail, because if you don't have a paper trail, you can't prove anything. It's your word against the next person's in court or whatever. But it's very important that you cover your rear, basically, guys, in these type of situations, and they will come up. The more you do, the more volume to do, the bigger you get, the more loads that you haul, you will come into contact with somebody like that. I don't care if you have, dedicated lanes, direct shippers, you don't do with brokers, or you deal with brokers or whatever, it doesn't matter. You're going to run into somebody eventually that's going to be, an unreasonable individual that's just lawsuit happy, they're going through divorce, somebody pisses in their Cheerios, it doesn't matter what it is, that person is mad at the world for whatever other reason, and they're taking it out on you. You see the funny sayings online, memes and things, don't let somebody who's basically a garbage truck run around and dumping things out every day dump on you and ruin your day, because it's just, they're doing it all the time. So don't take it personal. That's why I try to say, don't let emotion come into business. But the number one rule is just always protect yourself, do everything in writing. In the event that happens, just very cordially, you don't have to go straight to that. Just say, hey, I'm gonna have to get compensated for this, or I'm gonna have to compensate my driver for this, or whatever, and then try to work it out through the necessary professional channels first, and then if they just basically saying we're not going to pay it, my customer's not going to pay it, we're refusing to pay it, piss off, it does, you know, or it's only the industry standard is $150 when it's really $500 for a layover for a day or something like that, or $1,000. You can say, well, no, I don't know what industry standard chart you're looking at, but what we usually get is, you know, 500 or whatever, right, for a layover for an entire day to wait until the next day, unless you have to cancel a load that makes you look bad on the other end that you pre-booked and they're refusing to unload you. Now you can have other charges say it's going to cost you $1,000 because I have to cancel this load. But you also have to be prepared, guys, because there's been situations where I've been in that the broker or the customer is refusing to unload completely. They're just saying, no, we're not going to do it till Wednesday and today's Monday or whatever, right, or Friday. Or my crew went home early and they'll be back on, it's Friday, that my crew went home early at noon and it said until 2 and you're there at 1. They left at noon supposedly and they're not going to unload you. They refuse to come back to unload you. You can say, okay, well, here's the deal. I'm here, you're refusing to unload me until Monday. I have other obligations at that point. Now you're causing me to cancel those obligations and look bad to that client. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have to unload the stuff and you're going to pay me for it. So you have to be ready and willing and able and have the money to have a crane come out, pay that crane or pay that person, and be resourceful where you can do those type of things and have it taken off and things like that. Because if you're not prepared to pay a crane, I've had to do that before, just because not necessarily that the guy was being rude, he just couldn't get a crane available, he couldn't have his crew ready, they were gone, they were out of town. So even if I wanted to be upset about it, there was nothing I could do. So at that point, it's like he didn't have the money or wasn't able to pay a crane to unload it or whatever. I had to pay for that and just, you know, deal with business, because I was looking at the upside. Do I sit here and screw with this all weekend, or do I move on to the next load and just keep my business going and make that client happy, so, and meet my deadlines or obligations that I needed to meet? So those are the things that you guys need to worry about, is always remain professional at all costs. You know, 1, 2, 3, 4 times. At that last time, take it and escalate it to the point that we're not taking any crap. You're not going to muscle us, you're not going to push us over, you're not going to intimidate us, and you're not going to scare us into lawsuits or whatever. What we're going to do is take your crap, put it in storage, and you're going to have to deal with it on yourself, and we really don't care. And then take it from there. Because if you go in, get into a accident and you don't have the money to have your equipment towed, or you don't have the money necessarily to take care of it or get it out of tow, they actually get to place a lien on it right there. I had a situation happen with an owner operator one time where he flipped the truck over, or the trailer over. The guy come out, flipped it back over, hit us with a bill for $5,000. The owner operator didn't have the money to pay for it. Well, it had the commodity on the trailer, and the situation was basically, you know, he was like, man, I'm not paying, this is a ripoff, it took you 2 minutes to get out here. And I thought it was a ripoff too, but they get to charge what they get to charge, guys. They have the big equipment, and the state police was like, look, if you don't pay these guys, I'm giving them the right to impound your equipment right here. They're going to tow it back to their facility and you can take it up in court. So that's law, guys, and it's just the way things work, you know, that it's worked out through court. So at that point, there was nothing my guy could do. It was pay it or they're going to tow it. And the state police were like, look, we're going to force you out of it, whether by handcuff or whatever, if you don't step out of the way while he tows your stuff. So we had to, you know, work whatever we had to do to get it paid so he could leave, because the material was on the trailer. You know, so being ready and having money for those type of situations when you're on the road is very important, because you might get into a situation where you have to pay to have it unloaded. What are you going to do if it's a big commodity and it's 20,000 pounds and you have to take it to a storage facility, pay the storage facility nearby? I wouldn't bring it all the way back 1,000 miles to home or whatever. I just wouldn't do that. I would take it locally, store it that way, because it's probably going to go back to where it needs to go eventually anyway. But take it there, and then you're going to have to pay somebody to unload it, then pay for storage and all that kind of stuff. So those are the things that you're going to get into. You need to be prepared for, because that could have very well happened. And you just need to know the procedures and what to do, and it needs to be, you know, basically in your rate confirmation. If you didn't get it in writing, the extra services, extra work, or the, you know, things that happen. I had a guy one time cancel or take a wide load. I was the one that was driving it, and he wanted to take the wide load and change it and send it to another place without getting in the permits late on a Friday, and he didn't want to unload it right there. He said, no, it wasn't supposed to come here, we're supposed to go over here, blah, blah, you know. And I said, well, I'm not taking it over there because I don't have a permit to take it down those roads or wherever you needed me to go, back up some other way, right? And it was only, you know, 45 minutes, an hour away, but it was just not legal to do so, because we had legal parameters within the permit. The permits are expensive, things like that, and they weren't willing to pay or any extra, but he also wasn't going to unload it right there. So we had to make the justifiable decision to go, you know, buy permits, charge the guy had to pay for it, and he was super unhappy about that. And it took us a while to get the permits routed to where we needed to take it legally the right way, instead of just trying to do it under the table and running out there and getting busted by DOT and having to pay a $5,000 or $10,000 fine. So those are things you guys run into. Just always protect yourself, don't take no crap, and know what you need to know to get it done. This is a Trucking Guy signing out. I appreciate you tuning in.